Yeah, come up, bro. Let's do it.
Sweet, man. I appreciate it. Thank you. So, I appreciate it. That was a really great intro. So, I just kind of so I get a gauge of like who's here. How many of you guys sell stuff online? Only online, not in person, not physical store. Everybody else here has a physical store? Raise your hand if you've got a physical brick and mortar store business. Okay.
If you don't have a business,
That makes more sense. Yeah, that makes more sense. Do you sell physical products? Raise your hand if you sell physical products, supplements, anything. Okay, you do. Okay, great. So everybody else is mostly digital? Nice. Okay, so a lot of the stuff that's perfect because obviously this applies to all that different types. Joey's actually heard this presentation a little bit. But this is primarily primarily for people who sell stuff online that's digital. If you're doing stuff that's digital, I don't want to say it's a harder sale, but it takes a little bit more convincing because when you break it all down, essentially it's just a bunch of PDF documents, some videos, maybe some calls or whatever, but it's really nothing tangible. Whenever you sell a physical product, they get it in the mail, they can hold it, they can touch it. That's a little bit easier to sell, right? How many of you guys would actually agree with that just by a show of hands, right? Okay, cool. So one of the things, and this is actually not in my presentation, but it's on my mind now since you guys are all online. One of the things that's really kicking ass, at least for me, I sell a lot of stuff personally in the martial art niche. I own a page called I Love Jeet Kune Do, so I test a lot of stuff with those folks. And one of the things I realize is as much as I love long copy, which still works obviously when you're doing a long form sales letter, when you're doing stuff in the beginning, when they first interact with you, it works almost always a tad bit better if you're using short copy with urgency. So for example, if you've got if you're trying to do a squeeze page, for example, right? If you're trying to get people to opt in, I would do something very simple. Instead of going through everything that's going on in your product, in your service, whatever you're offering, I would have whatever the headline is, whatever you're gonna give them, free contest gives you this, or free report reveals whatever, and then I would have some kind of countdown timer. Now, the countdown timer, it's funny because I've actually tested stuff that's 30-day countdown timers, and I personally haven't seen, and at least in my martial art niche, I haven't seen the difference between a 30-day countdown timer and like a 7-day countdown timer. I haven't tested anything for 24 hours or any of that stuff, but just kind of to keep in mind, add some kind of countdown timer as to when your promo is going to end, and that'll increase, at least for me, 10% in increase in conversion from cold traffic to people opting in. So we'll get into like a little more of the layout, just like what Mitch was saying, but just kind of keep that stuff in mind, especially if you're doing stuff online that's all digital. Keep it short and then have some kind of countdown timer, and you want your call to action button that says, yes, I want whatever it is that you're actually offering them, right? So instead of saying opt in or enter or submit or some shit like that, yes, I want whatever it is that you're giving away for free. Just by show of hands, does that kind of make sense? Cool, really basic, really simple. A lot of you guys probably know this already. What I'm going to be showing, I'm actually going to pull it. I thought I had slides, so I didn't memorize a lot of this. But one of the things that, and you're going to want to take notes of it, is, let's see. I learned a lot of this stuff by Clayton. Who here knows Clayton Makepeace? Show a hand. 1, 2, 3 you got. 4. Okay, so really not that many. If you don't know Clayton, you should definitely follow him because he's somebody I'm learning from now. I'm going to meet up with him in about a week or two in Charlotte. Unbelievable copywriter. Clayton, if you're watching this, I don't know how old you are, but he's like 100 years old. He's fucking been in this for like ever, right? And he knows what works. So a lot of this stuff that I'll be sharing with you isn't stuff that I made up. It's just stuff that I took from him, that I applied to my martial arts stuff and to the stuff that I write for Agora and a bunch of these different people. So it just works, right? So you don't have to, the key is you don't have to memorize this stuff. So you want to make sure you write it down, because what I do is I actually have these on 3 different pieces of paper. In my office, I've got a piece of paper that says, here are the 13 steps for a sales letter. Here are the human behaviors, human fears that all of us have. Here are all the desires that we feel. So you don't have to memorize these things, but as long as you've got it written down, which I'm going to give you all the points and all that stuff, as long as you've got it and you follow that, it's really hard not to convert, right? Okay, so the first thing you want to kind of put down is copy principles. So one of the first things is, you want to make sure that your target, whenever you're talking to anybody, whether it's, I mean, are you guys familiar with Agora? Anybody? Okay, so Agora writes primarily to people who are around 55, like baby boomers, right? So a lot of baby boomers, from my experience when I didn't know anything about copywriting, I thought they would use these big words and all this stuff, and you'd want to communicate in a way that was really intellectual, but that's actually not what you want to do. So you want to talk to people on a 5th grade level if you're writing any kind of copy at all. It doesn't matter if you're talking to a person who's 60 years old, a person who's 15, doesn't matter. Talk to them on a 5th grade level. I mean, most people don't even read a book a year, so like, you don't need to overcomplicate the shit, right? As simple as you can make it, the better it is. Okay, copy principle numero 2. Use stories. So whenever you're using, this is just in general, this could be for a Facebook post, this could be for a, I mean, you can follow Mitch wherever he is. He does a lot of great Facebook posts. A lot of you guys obviously know him from that. And one of the things that, obviously he gives a lot of info and a lot of cool stuff, but one of the things that I've noticed is, and it works for him, is he tells stories. He'll share stuff of his events that he's doing. You're gonna see cool pictures of this shit, stuff that he's doing in Thailand, all of these cool things. And so stories are what's going to connect people. The facts are what's going to tell what's going on, but the stories is what's going to sell. So when you're doing any kind of persuading, any kind of selling, you sell them with the story, you make an impact with the story, but you can justify afterwards with logic. So here's what I mean. If you're going to sell somebody on a $25,000 program, which I've written copy for stuff like that, you would think it's, holy moly, who would buy a $25,000 basically digital program, right? There's people who do it, so you have to sell them on the emotion of it, of whatever they want to accomplish. Either 25 grand is going to turn into $1 million, whatever it is. But then afterwards, you have to think, well, what are their brothers, sisters, colleagues, what are they going to tell them? Dude, you bought $25,000, you just got ripped off. So what are they going to say? If you haven't provided the solution for them, you may have a refund, because now they're like, dude, everybody around me is fucking saying I got ripped off. It's what happens a lot in MLM. When you start pitching MLM stuff and all your friends are like, oh geez, you're in one of these companies, you got scammed, you got screwed or whatever. So you want to make sure that you're kind of pre-framing people a little bit with that. All right, next one. Always have a call. This, you guys probably aren't the group. Who here has a business card? Really, dude? You're a fucking copywriter.
Just in case.
Jesus. Do you have a call to action on it?
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's awesome. So my next thing was going to be, yeah, if you've got a business card, most folks, I mean, I don't know what you guys do with business cards, but when I get them, they either go in the garbage or they get turned into filters for when I roll. And so we know the smokers are, right? So, but that's usually what happens. So if, I mean, it's just what happens. So if you're going to have even a business card, make sure you have some kind of call to action. It doesn't matter what you're doing, if they smile, if they like you or whatever, if you don't have a call to action to get them to go somewhere, nothing's going to happen. So on the bare minimum level, we take it to a business card marketing, right? Which it's not exactly that effective, but if you're going to do that, make sure you have a call to action. It's actually, when I used to own a martial arts school, and the way I built it was not with Facebook ads. It's actually kind of funny. I didn't know anything about Facebook ads. I didn't know any of that shit. And I was paying 10 grand a month in overhead. So that was like, shit, I got to like get people into the school, right? So one of the things that I figured out was, shit, man, I can't like keep giving away flyers, because all my flyers, they're like business cards. They ended up on the ground. Like no one would take advantage of it. They'd be like, oh, thanks. Boom. And I would see them all over the beach, all over the ground. I hated that shit. So I was like, well, how can I get people to actually like come in for a free class? You know, like I think they would like my shit. So I would go up to people, hey, I'm not crazy. Here, take this real quick. We have a free, and I call put product in hand. I put the flyer in their hand. I say, hey, we've got a really cool martial arts school we just opened. Would you be interested in a free week? Oh, I don't know. They usually say no in the beginning, because like, who the hell are you, right? Hey, no worries, it's not for you. And I grab it, take it out of their hand. And they're like, well, I don't know. Like, let me see what the hell's on the flyer. You didn't even give me a chance to read it. Give it back to them and say, hey, no worries, man. We teach this, that, and the other thing. If you're cool, I'd love to send you some free videos where you can show you what we do or whatever, right? So I get their contact information. So it was no more about trying to, and this will wrap up why you have to have a call to action, right? You've got to get their contact info. If you're just giving shit out, there's nothing, like nothing's going to happen, right? You have to move them to another place. So copy principle, I guess, whatever 3 or whatever that was, you have to have a call to action in everything you do, whether that's on a squeeze page, an advertorial. How many of you guys know what advertorials are? Yeah. How many of you are using them? It's fucking crushing. Is it? Well, maybe, I don't know. Is it crushing for you? Yeah, it crushes for the financial industry. It's crushing for a lot of non-compliance stuff, THC. It's funny, when they were talking about bridge pages for you, that's actually what I thought of too, is doing an advertorial. I would do, and if you guys don't know what an advertorial is, it's essentially like a rave review article that it could appear like a third-party endorsement, right? So if you've got a THC product or a CBD product or whatever it is, you can't advertise on Facebook, right? So you talk about how millions of people are being affected by this terrible illness or whatever, and this article reveals all this cool stuff, and you're not pitching anything, you're just giving value, and then they click over to go to the next step, and that's where you can start offering your non-compliant shit, right? I'm gonna actually break. Brandon is on the third step on a Facebook ad, you can start putting your non-compliant shit, or is the second step, like from Facebook ad to bridge page article, then you can put your non-compliant like porn and all that crazy shit.
So Facebook checks like the first page that they land on and every page that bridges off of that one.
Oh, so now
it's like 3 pages in, but if it goes into manual review, then it could be infinite.
Okay, so one of the things you want to do is then push them into there and then get their contact info on the bridge page, and then you can just remarket to them. But the bridge page is huge because it's getting more clicks because it's just value. People know you're not giving. Okay, here's a free webinar. You guys know you're getting pitched, right? Here's like 40 free tips on how to increase your business conversions. Wow, that's fucking cool. Let me click on that. And it's an article. It's right there. It's like you're not holding anything back. And then they click over and then they get the, you get their contact information. You remarket them to all your non-compliant shit. Does that kind of make sense? Nice. Okay. And then another thing is we want to make sure that this can be, again, for Facebook posts, it could be for sales pages, whatever it is, you always want to have a one-on-one talk, right? You're not talking one to tons of people. So I'm not saying, dear friends, here's what I have to offer you. I'm saying, dear friend, here's what I have to offer you, right? Or you're always talking to one person. If you talk to a group in the copy setting in the world, it's not going to relate since you want them to read that and feel like it's talking directly to them, right? So let me see. Now we'll just move on. Okay. Disregard that. All right. So here are 10 fears. This is actually the stuff I learned from Clayton. So there's 10 fears that all of us have, like every human has. And if you can touch on these fears within your copy, and this again is primarily geared for long form sales letters, video sales letters, stuff like that. Aspects of these fears can be touched on in different things like advertorial, squeeze pages, shit like that. But if you have these, again, I have them on my wall in my office, you just look at them, and as you're writing your copy, did I identify this, identify that, and that'll help you boost conversion. So the first thing, or one of them, is the fear of the unknown. Second one, fear of embarrassment. Fear of failure and fear of embarrassment. This third one is fear of failure. They're very similar. Most people don't actually get started, or most people don't even put the effort into trying to blow up, because they feel like they're going to fail. And if they fail, they're going to be embarrassed. They're going to be like, fuck, I suck. Everybody's going to think I suck, whatever it might be. So those are probably the biggest fears I touch on. But the fear of failure is really, really big. And I'm sure most of you guys can relate to it. You know somebody who has potential to do something amazing, but there's something holding them back, and it's usually just some bullshit excuse, right? And that's what it is. So we have fear of unknown, fear of embarrassment, fear of failure, fear of poverty, and wanting what you can't have. So feeling like there's everybody, well, not everybody, but there's a good amount of people that will start off in a certain place in life, or may not be the best place, and then they move up. The fear is when you're in this place, you feel you're going to be stuck in this place, which is where a lot of people are in their head when you're selling make money online or make money anything, really. It's like, fuck, even if they're at $100,000 a year, but they just can't break past it, A lot of you guys know Ryan Stewman. One of the people that, one of the types of people we help when we market to them are people who are making about $250,000 a year but just can't break past it. They work they work to the bone, they're giving up their time, whatever. They can hit $250,000 a year, but they just can't hit the $500,000, the $1 million. They don't have the systems in place, whatever it might be. And so those are the people he targets. So you want to make sure that you know exactly who you're talking to, but the fear of not just poverty, the fear of staying complacent is a big fear. That if you're going to be in the same spot in the next 5 years, is that going to make you happy? I don't know. If you make $1 million in 5 years, do you want to have $1 million? Do you want to have 10 million? You still want more, right? Fear of loneliness. Who did pickup? Who's the pickup? So
In real life?
No, in real life, yeah. I'm fucking pumped to see it because the pickup guys are. I learned so much from. Well, who did RSD is where you were starting. So yeah. RSD and everything he's going to probably share is super key. A lot of the stuff, like the fear of loneliness brings it up because I remember when I was learning a lot of sales stuff, I had also gone through a bad breakup in the time. So I was like, fuck, I'd been in a relationship for like 6 years. I don't even know how to flirt with a girl. So I was like, I need to start learning this. And my fear, it wasn't like I wanted to bang hundreds of girls. That was like maybe on the outside, that's what I thought it was. Yeah. But on the inside, well, that's what I thought. That's why I started, right? I'm like, fuck, right? But afterwards, it was fear of loneliness. I didn't want to be alone when I was fucking 30 years old or 40 years old or 50. I didn't want to die alone. That was my biggest fear for some reason. So now when I read this, that resonated with me, and I was like, man, the pickup industry is huge. And I mean, there's tons of different industry, or tons of different reasons, I'm sure, but one of them is, I think on a deep level, nobody wants to be alone. Nobody wants to die alone. No guy, in my opinion, they may want to slay, but I know guys who like are 55 years old who are like, man, I've had a really good run. I want someone to be with me when I fucking die, right? So it's interesting.
And to add to that, Carlos, on the female side, you can see how in weight loss, that's a lot of times that's a factor in there about
Yes.
being afraid that they're not going to be sexy enough and they might lose their man,
Yeah.
things like that. But also the fear of loneliness is more prominent in women because they have the paternal clock. There's a countdown, and so there's an urgency there that's not as urgent as men in general.
That's actually a great point. I wrote a letter for FeeFit. I don't know if anybody's familiar with it. It's a fitness program on Amazon. It was a really big seller at one point. I don't know if it still is. But the headline and I'm probably going to butcher, but it was something along the lines, let me pre-frame it. We were targeting women who had just had a baby and were married, right? So they were probably in like their 30s or so, generally. And so the headline was, will he still look at you the same? And we had tried all this crazy shit, like how to lose like 50 pounds, how to do this. Will he still look at you the same? And I didn't actually make up the story. And I'll go into, well, I was about to point out my slides. I'll go into this a little later on, but there's a trick that I learned on how to really tap into what people are thinking. Like I didn't actually write that, like I wrote the letter obviously, but I didn't make up the story that I used with the whole will he look at you the same. It was actually a review, a real review on their Amazon review page. Somebody had posted a 5-star review saying, oh my God, this changed my life. I have a confession to make. I bought every fitness program from Billy Blanks to P90X to this, to that, whatever. Nothing works. It's just collecting dust. I've got a treadmill that's basically a hanger for my clothes. Nothing, whatever, all this stuff. And then she literally she went down a very emotional road. And then the big turning point was this product that helped her gain the confidence. It wasn't just about looking good, even though that's what happened, right? She got physically fit, but she got so much more out of it. And there's no way from like a man, like I couldn't say that, like I'm not a woman, so I didn't even know these things. So a good research trick is if you're trying to get into the head of who you're trying to target, go on Amazon, look at the niche that you're, like let's say weight loss, and type in weight loss books or something, and then look at all the reviews that have thousands of reviews, hundreds of reviews, whatever it is. Look at the 5-star ones, and now you can say, okay, here are all the rave reviews, and sometimes, not all of them, but some of those will have really amazing stories, like the best testimonial you could ever have, which is the intro to your sales letter, right? Are you guys tracking? Is that good? Good, nice. Okay, so fear of loneliness, fear of dependence, fear of dependence, I mean, that depends on who you're marketing. I've done stuff, and not successfully, but just as an example, like I've targeted college students in the past, like years ago. And one of the big things is they didn't want to be dependent on their parents, right? They wanted to, even millennials, like I'm a millennial, like I didn't want to be at home and I'm 31. I didn't want to be living at home with my parents doing all this shit when I was like in my 30s or mid 20s or late 20s. I didn't want that shit, so I moved the fuck out. And I wanted to be independent. And like a lot of people, even though they don't take that step to go move out, they still want that dependence or independence, and they don't want to be dependent on someone else, because when you're dependent on someone else, what happens? They can take that shit away. It's funny, I met not on this trip, like 3 years ago or something, I was on a plane ride coming from Miami, where I'm from, to Arizona, where I live now. And there was a chick who was sitting, a lady who was sitting next to me, and she used to date, we got to talking, and she dated a lot of professional athletes. And she said, I'm sick and tired of dating these guys because they give you everything, and then when they're done with you, they take it all away, and you become so dependent on them that when they take it away, you're like, your whole world is gone, like you're fucked. And so it's, again, fear of dependence is huge if you know how to kind of tap into it, right? All right. Fear of betrayal, fear of illness, fear of death, fear for someone else. Fear of death is interesting. I've used this in Agora. I actually sound evil kind of like saying this. So with Agora, their market is on the way out kind of thing, right? And so they want to build a legacy before they're on their way out, or they want to grow their nest egg so they're financially capable to take care of their family when they die. So fear of death is huge, and if you can, in a non-sleazy way, tap into that and say, listen, we're all on a fixed time here. If you don't take action now, what's going to happen 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line, 15 years down the line? Like, if you're 80 years old, maybe you don't see past 15 years, 20 years down the line. You're like, shit, I only have 5 or 10 years, or whatever it is, right? So you kind of have to, again, you don't want to come across sleazy. If you do it, I don't know how to describe it sleazily. Like, if you're going to die in the next 10 years, you need to take action. You can't do that, right? You're going to turn people off. But understanding that that's a real fear, you can craft your copy in a way that makes people want to take action, which if you're selling something good, you should want them to take action before they die. Like, they should leave a legacy, right? So if you believe that, then you should sell that hard. And you should just kind of understand the fear.
Don't sell them continuity until they're 90.
Yes.
Only get a few payments out of them.
Real quick.
Yes, yes.
To add to that, if you want to tell them what's in their future, you know, they're 10 years from retirement, they need to get off their ass or they're screwed. Often you can do that with a third-person story. Let me tell you about Joe. You know, he failed to save for retirement. Now he's eating dog food. You can.
That's huge.
That's a good tool to do.
Yeah. Well, one of the points in actually the 13 steps I will go into is painting the picture of what happens if they don't take action. So you paint the picture of all these amazing things that will happen when they take action. You're going to make this crazy amount of money. You're going to see this amazing result. You're going to fucking have a six-pack and whatever it is you want. But then there has to come a point to where you're like, here's what happens if you do nothing, though. You could leave this page and nothing will change. You could take all the information. And I learned this from Clayton. He would have an ultimatum. So you've come to the end of this page. There's really only two choices. Choice one, you can take the information on this page, say, this was great, I appreciate it, and then just go off on your own, continue on with your day and see the same results you've seen for the last few years and go on with your life. Or you can do what most people do who are ready to commit and transform and see a difference and whatever, and that's choice number two. And choice number two, and then that's your fucking offer, right? So you really break it down into those two choices, two alternatives. But if they don't take, it would come to what you were saying, you want to paint the picture just before you give those choices of, if you don't take action though, you're going to be like a broke ad. You're not going to be able to do shit or whatever the negative thing is. Does that make sense? Nice. Okay. Okay, and perfect. Okay, so feeling inadequate, feeling unimportant and not needed, these are basically all things that are going to make us go crazy. Feeling powerless or trapped. Again, I write so much in the make money, not necessarily online, but I just kind of put it all together. If I'm writing make money with financial newsletters and stock options and all this shit, or if I'm making money, showing you how to make money with an e-commerce part, whatever it is, it's the same type of shit, right? So a lot of people will feel like they're trapped and they're powerless to change their situation. It's probably one of the worst things ever. If anybody sells shit, I can relate it back to pickup. I remember when I felt trapped, like I couldn't even talk to another person of the opposite sex because I just felt like I wasn't worthy or whatever it might be. I didn't have that self-love or whatever it might be. So and when you don't have when there's no light at the end of the tunnel, you're like, oh shit, like that's really bad, right? So the feeling of being trapped is huge for people who are stuck in a job or stuck in a certain weight or whatever they're stuck in. You've got to be able to kind of pull them out and say, hey, this is the problem. I relate to it, kind of like what he was saying with a third party thing for the other. You can use stories and you say, hey, Bob was the same way. He was experiencing this. This is where he started. He was on food stamps, banging his head against the wall, trying to make money, trying to do this. Nothing seemed to work. But then something crazy happened. He kept on going, he kept on pushing, and then this happened. And you show that light at the end of the tunnel, and now it's possible. It's like you just have to peek it a little bit to make them feel like it's possible. If they feel like it's possible, they'll keep on going. Does that make sense? Nice. Okay. Feeling used, feeling oppressed. And some of these I'm kind of going over a little bit more because they're slightly more, like I use them more. So some like feeling used. Obviously, you guys probably know what feeling used is like, right? Nobody wants to feel used. That's partly, not always, partly why some people won't do free events or won't do free anything. Like, I would never do that. You better pay me for my shit. But like sometimes it's better to get exposure, better to get whatever else than it is to get paid. But a lot of people feel like they're getting used, and so if you feel used, you won't see these opportunities, right? So you're gonna be able to just kind of identify that shit, right? Okay. All right, now there's 8 universal desires. You want to write these down. First one is to feel okay about our past and forgiveness for past mistakes. Most people here, you don't have to admit it, we've done something in our past that you may not be so happy about. You wish you could change, you wish you could be forgiven about, whatever it is. Maybe it's with a relationship, maybe it's with school, whatever, it doesn't matter. But there's generally something in our past that holds us back from moving forward. And so if you can understand that about your customer, that if they're looking at a weight loss program that's going to show them how to lose weight, there's a good chance that they've tried shit and it's failed and it hasn't worked, and you know, and whatever, and you need to be able to kind of forgive them for that. It's not your fault type of deal. Like, have you ever heard of like the it's not your fault copy? Like, this is all happening to you, but it's not your fault. It's this other person's fault. And you find a common enemy. That's kind of what you're doing, but you're also forgiving them so that they're like, okay, cool. Like, let me move past all my bullshit so I can take action or something. Second thing, to feel free and in control of our own destiny. This kind of goes back to the whole feeling of being oppressed or feeling like there's no way out or something like that. That's a horrible feeling. And so if you can hit on these emotions, it makes people move. The best type of copy isn't the stuff that's super bland and doesn't strike a chord with them. Like, it's okay if people get pissed with your copy and like, how did this person say this actually? Maybe I can show you a video after this. One of my pieces of copy, one of my pieces of copy, it's funny. This guy, just on a little tangent, I wrote some stuff for some loan officers, and it's like we call it the 10 days of pain, and it's like, it gets really brutal. Like by the 8th email or 8th text message, it's like, hey, you haven't responded, and we're super worried for you. We're thinking about calling the cops to do a welfare check on your house if you don't respond to us and shit. And so, yeah, it's fucking incredible. So what ends up happening is they'll call, and many times what'll happen is it turns into a sale, because like, hey, all you have to do is really apologize. Hey, we're really sorry. We didn't mean to offend you. We just want to make sure you're okay. We sent you 8 emails. Most people respond by the 5th one. You didn't respond. Just want to make sure you're okay. You can't fucking do that shit saying you're going to call. We literally have this on video. Somebody called my buddy Kenneth, and he was like, you can't just tell people you're going to fucking call the cops on them and do this if they don't respond. No, we just want to make sure you're okay. And so you can flip it by saying, by obviously apologizing. You say, but are you still in the market to get a new home? Yeah, well, listen, we're really sorry about that. We'll send you flowers. We're going to send you cookies, whatever it is. We want to earn your business. I'm really sorry about how this went down. But if you're still in the process, would you have 5-10 minutes to let me show you how we can help you? Because what's the point? You want a response. But most people won't go that far because they're just fucking scared of getting it. It's not a bad deal if someone is like, I need to call this person up and cuss them out. That's fine. They're passionate. There's nothing wrong with being passionate. You just got to turn that passion into something positive. They hate your guts. That's okay. They still called you. You just apologize. It's fucking exactly like dating. Like, well, I don't know. So anyway, you can, so they hate your guts. And you're like, I'm so sorry. You just agree with them. I mean, you're like, shit, you can't convince an angry person that they're wrong, right? Have you been angry and someone tried to convince you otherwise? You're like, man, shut the fuck up. I'm right. Even though I'm wrong. I don't care, right? Doesn't matter. So you just apologize. Take responsibility. Yeah, I did send the email. Totally sorry. My fault. Are you still are you still looking? Whatever, right? So anyway, hopefully, does that make sense? Did that kind of bring some value to you guys? Yeah, good. So in other words, don't be so bland in your copy. Go for the response. You don't want to say, hey, screw you, or you don't want to do that shit. But saying, hey, I'm going to call the cops and do a welfare check because I'm worried about you. If you frame it like that, like you're worried, you're doing these things because I'm worried about you. Think of it like if you had the cure to AIDS or something, and somebody was like dying and they needed the cure to AIDS, and you sent them a fucking letter in the mail and they didn't respond, and then you sent them an email and they didn't respond. Would you call them? Shit, they still didn't respond. I would fucking bang on them like, yo, I got the cure to AIDS. Like, look. Right? It's okay. Because if you feel like you've got the cure to AIDS or whatever the cure is, the solution is, then you can do that shit. You can kind of go hard. Okay. Okay, so to feel in control, to feel happy is number 3. To feel alive, excited, and exhilarated. This works great for anything almost fitness oriented. A lot of times when you're out of shape, you're out of energy. And when you want to be in shape, you tend to want to do more shit, like go rock climbing or go bicycling, and you just become more active. So that's, I mean, selling to the fitness industry, if you can paint the picture of the stuff they're going to be able to do because now they've lost 20 pounds, And that's good. And you can back it up with science saying, listen, you're not supposed to have these 20 pounds. Your heart can't support that extra weight getting on there that fast. If you can back it up with science, again, we sell with emotion, then we kind of back it up and justify it with logic and science and shit like that, right? Okay, so we have number 4 is to feel alive, excited. Number 5, to feel physically, intellectually, emotionally, and spiritually fulfilled. That's a big one. Number 6, to feel accepted, respected, admired. I sell that in my martial art one. So my martial art is, the people I sell to is the Jeet Kune Do martial artists. And I sell to other people as well. But it's interesting because a lot of these folks kind of just want to be respected. Like they feel powerless that they can't protect their family, because for the people who are on my list, at least for the martial art, you would think they're like MMA people, like 20 years old, but they're really not. They're about 35, 45 to about 55 years old. And they've come onto my list because they want to learn how to protect their family without a gun and without necessarily having to be like in a 6-pack ripped shape or whatever, because they just aren't. So that fear, I mean, or where am I here? That whole thing of being respected, that's what it is. They want to, I don't want to say be respected by their friends. It's almost like respected by their family. It's basically all men on my list. And so I've talked to these guys on the phone. Like I've called some of them up trying to sell them my shit. So I just ask them, why are you interested in stuff? And a lot of it is they've never been burglarized before. They've never had any of these really bad traumatizing things happen before, but it's the fear of like, what if it does happen? I can't do anything. And another one is my wife is counting on me, but I can't even count on myself. Like, I don't know if I could protect her. I don't know if I could protect my kid. I don't know. I need a gun or some shit. I don't even know if I can use a gun, right? And so you're really selling that they're going to get respect from their family by learning this shit, right? That's a kind of an underlining theme. So if that's something that you guys type of stuff, maybe it doesn't have to be martial art, but if it's something that's pushing their ego a little bit, you can sell that as well. So they want to feel accepted, to feel successful, and to feel optimistic even about the future. Again, that kind of goes back to what we were talking about before. Whenever you feel optimistic, like there's actually a chance, there's a light at the end of the tunnel, that's huge. Most people feel trapped, whether it's for weight loss, for making money, for fucking picking up a girl, for picking up a guy, it doesn't matter. They feel trapped if they feel like they can't do it. And if they can't do it, then like, it takes you down a really dark road, right? But if you can just give them a little bit of like sunlight, a little bit of like possibility, that goes a long way. Plus it'll change their life even if they don't buy. Like if you're interested in that shit, like you give them a possibility, maybe they can't afford your $1,000 program, but you've given them fucking hope and they won't like slit their wrist. Like that's cool because you can give them a chance, right? It's like, that's really big. All right, so 13 steps. So here's kind of the latter part of the presentation. This is just what Mitch said. It's framed in an order that it makes it almost hard not to convert, even at a bare minimum. This works almost primarily for sales letters and video sales letters. It can be used for webinars, but it won't work as well because it's not structured for that, right? So if you're doing a webinar, you can apply it, you get like some traction and some cool shit, but it's not going to be your winner for a webinar. Just keep that in mind, right? So if you're doing a sales letter or a video sales letter though, then follow this shit exactly. Okay, so first step is you want to steal attention. Many times that's through a headline. If you're doing a video sales letter, one of the things that has worked really well for us is doing a news-like intro. So if you're selling financial newsletters, if you're selling to people who are used to watching the news, then make your presentation newsworthy. So you can go on Fiverr. Who here knows Fiverr? Yeah, everybody. So you can go on Fiverr and get this shit done. Like Agora does this shit on Fiverr. Some of them, right? It's incredible. So you can just go on there, hire a reporter or a fake reporter to read your script and say presentation or amazing thing coming up in the next 3, 2, 1, and boom, there's your VSL. So the first thing is you want to steal attention, whether that's as a pattern interrupt style video, right, where we're doing something newsworthy, or doing it through a headline. Element number 2 is we want to identify what the problem is. The way I like to identify problems is taking it on myself. So I don't like doing the cheesy thing of like, do you want to lose weight? Or if you want to do, I like to say, I remember when I was 30 pounds overweight and I was struggling to get out of bed and I hated it because my back hurt all the time and whatever it is, but I would identify the problems from my experience. And if it's not my experience, it would be the experience of a customer, like what he was saying. It's huge. It's huge because that way you're not blaming them. You're not putting this like pressure on them. You're relating to them, saying, I know what it's like to be in your shoes. And if you can relate to them and say, I know where you're at, you're going to have a better chance of converting them later down the line, because now they trust you. You're not just some scumbag salesperson or whatever it might be. Step number 3 is you answer the problem. Now, you kind of answer the problem in a way where you rub salt in the wound, right? So you've identified the problem, and before you say, hey, here's the light at the end of the tunnel, you really want to dig in with your story about the hardships of whatever it was. Like, if you're selling make money online, I've been on food stamps when I was broke, so I'll say, hey, I was on food stamps. When I didn't have any money, I had to steal water from my neighbors, like real broke shit. So I went to store. So these are all parts of the story. But if I'm selling to that type of audience and they're going to relate to it, they're going to know, oh, he's not just some bullshit artist. Like I've done that, or I've been on food stamps, or I've done this, or I've been in a worse situation, or whatever it is. But now they know you're kind of on their level. Does that make sense? Cool. Macaulay, bro, you sending me pictures and shit? What's up? Yeah, I didn't look at it. I was like, he's probably throwing me off my game here. It's going to be like a weird picture. All right, so element 1, steal attention. Element 2, what's their problem? Element 3, we're answering their problem. Number 4 is, why should they listen to you? So here, this is kind of like you want to tiptoe around this. You don't want to brag about yourself because no one wants to hear that much about you. But you have to establish credibility so that they know you're like an expert, right? So one of the things that I like to do is I'll say, well, if I'm talking about myself, it's a little harder, right? If you're talking about someone else, you can make them sound a little bit better because it sounds like a third-party endorsement. But either way, you want to keep it short and simple. Like, my name's Carlos Redlich. I help 7-figure companies optimize their campaigns and increase results. I've also been featured in Content Magazine, and I have 2 published books or whatever. What's that say? It really, in very brief, Content Magazine, by the way, no one probably knows about it, which is really important, because it doesn't have to be a known magazine or known anything. You just have to be published. You have to be. I self-published my books. Like, you have to have a book. How many of you guys have a book? Everybody has to have a book. And Joey's book is good. I got Joey's book, personally signed and shit. But everybody's got to have a book. You can literally do it in like a week. Like, you can transcribe whatever it is you're saying, like interview yourself, whatever. Like, everybody should have a book. It's the best business card there is. It's the best way to say I'm an expert. Everybody heard of a free plus shipping offer? Yeah, the reason it works so well isn't just because it's free. It's because it's positioning you as an expert. So when you sell them your $1,000 program afterwards, they're like, oh, well, he wrote a book or she wrote a book. Like, obviously they're experts, right? It's crazy. You can self-publish. I'm just throwing this out because I don't know if you guys know it or not, but createspace.com is what I use. It's free. Self-publish your book on there. Get a cover done. I get on Fiverr. I'm sure somebody will get pissed about that, but you can get covered on wherever. But createspace.com, you can self-publish your book. It'll syndicate it on like Barnes & Nobles, Amazon. It's fucking incredible. And now you're a published author. So from a positioning perspective, you guys should all have a fucking book, even if it's 30 pages and fucking 20-point font. Like have a book. So there we go. That's me harping on like credibility, right? You got to have some kind of credibility. Okay. Answer problems. Element 4 was why they should listen to you. Element 5 is the benefits. So have you guys, just kind of show of hands, how many of you seen a sales letter that has like bullet points, like stacks of bullet points? I think so, right? You've written some, right? So that's usually where a lot of this heavy lifting is done to push all the benefits. And the stuff that the way I like to word my bullet points is kind of like feature benefits. So like that's the light bulb. Like the light bulb is clean or some shit or whatever, right? That's a feature, right? What's the benefit? Like, why is that important? The light bulb, because it'll light up the room and you don't have to use a candle anymore, right? You see how, so it's feature, benefit. So here's the feature and I explain why the feature is so important. What's it gonna do for me? So the way I do my structure my bullets is just like that. It's feature, benefit, and it's just bulleted out. The way I would suggest it is list as many bullets, especially in your first run of it, just list as many as you fucking can, because you don't know which one is gonna resonate with somebody, right? You don't know if it's how to make 6 figures online is gonna resonate, or how to do a Facebook ad is gonna resonate, or whatever it is. So like literally lay everything they're gonna learn, everything they're gonna get in the course. This is your spot to hit it. Be like everything, like even things you may not think are important, that's where it goes. It's unbelievable. how many times, like I'll look at sales letters and they'll have like 5 bullet points, but what if those 5, none of those resonate with me? You don't know which bullet is actually gonna hit. Like a bullet, like bang, like you don't know which one's gonna hit. Like I'm just fucking shooting like crazy. One of them is gonna hit. So you kind of have to have that same mentality. So go deep.
Go deep. Like making 6 figures a year is gonna, you know, go deep on that. It's like it's gonna allow you to
Paint the picture.
Well, it's going to allow you to now have more time. And if you have more time, you're going to be less stressed. If you're less stressed, you
Yeah.
get more hard-ons. You get more hard-ons, you fuck your wife better.
Yeah.
You fuck your wife better, she'll love you, won't leave you for the mailman.
That's funny. One of the he's right. Well, yeah. Well, right on all of them, right? So one of the things that I do, it's similar to that. It's actually when you get more time. I don't go that route as much, but I do the same thing. Like, so when you get more time, you have the ability to have more barbecues with your family, or spend more time with your kids, or take your daughter to fucking dance class or whatever it might be. But now you're painting the picture of something real to them. It's not like you're gonna have more time. Why is that important? We all know time is important, but why? Why is that important to you, right? I mean, I get to go to another yoga class or whatever it might be. So after you stack the benefits with doing all the bullet points and everything, you want to hit them with testimonials. So the testimonials are really like a big objection overcomer. And there's 2 types of testimonials that I primarily like to use. There's a result-driven testimonial, which is like, I was 100 pounds overweight, and then I lost all that in a year or whatever it was. And then you have the ones I really like, which are like skepticism-based testimonials, where it was, I was going to join Mitch's program, and I thought it was bullshit, and I almost didn't do it, and I suspended my disbelief. I took a chance, and it was the best decision I ever made. Here are my results, right? So it's showing I was skeptical at first, just like you probably are. I almost didn't do it. I thought he was full of bullshit, but then he wasn't, and he really delivered, and here's the results I got because of it. So it kind of takes them through where they are and meets them. It meets them where they are in their head. Like, have you ever heard that shit? This is gonna be terrible because I forget it. That conversation that's going on in your head. It's like a really famous copywriting saying. Like, boom. There we go. You're like a better copywriter than me. This is perfect. So, but that's exactly what you're doing. You're entering the conversation that's going on right now with them. And with those skepticism ones, it really identifies, because now you're not saying it. It's happening by itself. Like they're doing it. Like the customer is saying it for you. Does that make sense? So skepticism based, in my opinion, is slightly more valuable than results based, right? If we're in the fitness industry, everybody and their mother says, here's how you can lose 20 pounds in 30 days or whatever it is. But not everyone says, I almost didn't buy this program. I thought it was going to suck like every other program, but then I didn't. And then blah, 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 right? So that's really, really big. The testimonials are huge. And if you can make them realistic, that's better. They don't have to be so dramatically incredible and out of touch, right? If you're showing a person who's driving a Honda, the fucking Ferrari, that can work for a little, but it may be too out of touch for them for where they are in their life. So maybe show them the Benz. Does that make sense? It's easier to get to the Benz than the Ferrari in their head, even if it's not.
What do you guys think the secret number for the number of testimonials that would work best on average?
As many as you have.
There you go. That's the safe answer.
What do you say?
As many as you have.
Yeah.
As many as you got.
Yeah.
What about video versus written?
So I haven't tested it personally enough to really see a difference. To me, I think video is more impactful, but the video can also be not as impactful if the person sucks. So there are people in front of cameras that are just amazing, like they're really natural. And then you have other people who are like shaking and fucking trembling and sweating down. That's not gonna convert, you know what I mean? Just because it's a video and they say the right words, they didn't say it with the emotion. Does that make sense? So if you've got it on paper though, they can imagine the emotion, right? So it's like written, you know what I mean? It's a little bit, I don't want to say it depends, but it kind of depends on the actor, right? If the actor or the testimonial person sucks, then don't use them. Make them just do a word one and like yeah, don't use actors. But what I'm saying, even if you have a normal person like who use your product, like I've seen it, if somebody's trying to make money online and we've gone to interview them, they don't yet have the confidence because they haven't made money online generally, even if they liked your program and got $100 out of it or $1,000, they don't feel like millionaires. So they have this imposter syndrome. And so they don't want to be there saying, hey, so there's just a lot of, so that's why I'm so hesitant about saying, yeah, video is the best, because there's just a lot of different variables in there. Like if the person in front of the camera isn't confident, isn't passionate about what they're actually saying, and it's just not going to work as well.
You can combine them as well. You take a video, and then what you do is you take the best quote from that video, you put
Nice.
it underneath the video, where it is in that video, people won't even check it. So what'll happen is, you know, at one point the person said, you know, I lost 60 pounds in 20 days and it changed my life. You quote that and then you say 1 minute and 10 seconds, and they don't even go in and follow it. But they know that really was said because you got the video
right.
to prove that they said it.
That's smart. I like that. Well, he's got to say it again. I can't regurgitate it.
What you do is you do the combination of both of them. You take the very best quote out of the video and you write it underneath the video. And you mark the time that it says it on the video. So the video is a 2-minute testimonial. You know, you say, I lost all the weight that I wanted to in 60 days, and then you write 1 minute, 10 seconds.
Oh, I see what you mean, yes.
They're like, okay, if I scroll ahead 1 minute and 10 seconds, it's going to say that I don't really even need to watch that video. I can skim the videos.
Right.
You have to remember, when you're writing copy, there are people who want to read, people who want to see, people who want to hear. And that's why if you're doing content in like podcast form, you're now having it transcribed. After it's transcribed, you're marking what's talked about at what time.
Yeah.
So you're ripping the video for people who want to listen into the car. You got the video for people who want to watch it. You've got the timestamp so they can ignore all the stuff that they don't want and get right to where they want. And you kind of think the same way in the world of marketing.
Dude, I love it. It's funny because when you, yeah, go ahead.
Oh God, brain fart. God, I hate that. Now here's something that's worked for me. Is most of the times when you have friends or clients, and you ask them to do a video testimonial, we all suck as actors. So they're like, oh, that Tom Bell, he's the best, or whatever. So something that I've done is whenever you're doing a live cast or a video with somebody, some kind of content, and they say something good, something natural, like, hey, did you understand that? Oh my God, Tom, you opened this thing up, it's the best. And then just ask them, hey, can I use that?
Yeah.
And then go back and cut it from a spontaneous interaction. And it's good acting because it's real.
I love that.
And most of the time, okay, first of all, don't just write your testimonials. That's an FTC violation.
Right.
But what you can do is you want a variety, like you want results done and the skeptical.
Right.
So what you do is you have prepared a series of questions that they can easily answer that we're going to lead them into their own natural flow and giving you exactly what you want. So you say, hey, roughly, can you tell me how much weight did you lose and how long did it take you? And they say, I lost 60 pounds and it took me 3 weeks. There's your testimonial in their own words. And when you do the skeptical, you can say, be honest, how did you feel? And you want them to go back to saying, I'm skeptical. You say,
right.
Did you really believe in it? Were you a little skeptical and all this? Be honest and just how did it work? And then they'll say, yeah, at first I was skeptical and go for it. And he's 100% right. I mean, most of the time I'm sitting there, somebody says something, and I'm like, oh, okay, can I use that for a testimonial?
Yeah.
Now, the majority of the time, your favorite or the clients that just love you for whatever will say, you write whatever you want, send it to me, and I'll sign off on it. And they really do that. But for the majority of time, because everybody says, what do you think of being here at TNC? Right.
Yeah, of course. No, it was awesome.
Ask them, have a series of questions that are designed to get the series of types of testimonials you want. That way the feedback when it comes in is exactly what you want.
You said something that was good, and it helps me actually when I write a lot of my copy, is if I'm, like with Ryan Stewart, for example, he's a perfect example. I just transcribe whatever he pitches me. So with like Funnel Closer or whatever, I don't know if you guys have seen that program. Well, I wrote the sales letter for that, but I didn't really write it. Ryan wrote it. We were on the phone, we're talking, he's pitching it, he's talking about the whole thing, he's passionate as hell. We record our calls, and it was like a 2-hour call on like all the best things, the reasons why someone would want to buy, all of this shit. And so when we transcribed it, like 80% of the stuff was done. We had to put in testimonials and stuff like that. But even that, he was like, dude, fucking Todd saw results, this guy saw results. And so I'm like, oh, perfect, he's listing all the people I got to just fucking find and get their testimonials or whatever. But so that when you were talking about transcribing, or one of you guys are talking about transcribing, you, right? So the transcription thing is huge. Like that's actually one of the biggest things that helps me write my copy. I'll follow this as I go kind of cleaning up the what their pitch is, because they have if it's your product, very few people can sell that better than you, right? When I sold my martial art thing, I think I sold it better. Yes?
What's your favorite question to ask for a video testimonial?
What? Oh, yes. Yeah. Well, whenever I've done it, I'll say, hey, so where were you when you first, or where were you when you first got this program, right? Oh, well, I was really broke as fuck. I didn't have anything or blah, blah, blah. Okay, cool. What made you decide to take action on getting the program? Well, this, that, and the other thing. Okay, cool. And then what kind of results have you seen with the program? This, that, and the other thing. Those are kind of like the main ones. Like I haven't scripted it out personally, but yeah, I kind of take them through that journey. Like what happened before, why did you buy, so I can get the reasoning for it, and then then we get the results that they got from that, right? Hopefully they got some kind of results. Does that kind of answer? Yeah. Sweet. So. Okay, so after we've presented the testimonials, we want to go into element number 7. This is where you basically present the deal. Like, what's the deal? What's the offer? And you want to make sure that your offer is really like a no-brainer decision. When I say that, I'm going to illustrate like really, like, let's just do a crazy example. Like, this Ferrari is normally $120,000, but right now, because we're in San Diego at Mitch Miller's event or Opposed Media's event, it's only $46,000 with like $1,000 down or something, right? Like it's a crazy no-brainer offer. It'll probably bring up some skepticism, right? So one of the things that you're doing though is when you've got that no-brainer decision, you don't want it to be, let me kind of pull back. You don't want it to be so outlandish that it's unbelievable, right? But it's got to be like, shit, this is like, it's such a steal of a deal. The program is normally $1,000, but now that it's half off, which by the way, half off crushes, like half off sales, like just saying half off, like it works really well. So that's just one of the reasons, right? So you want to make sure it's a no-brainer decision, but after you do that, it tends to have some kind of skepticism a little, like this is too good to be true if you've kind of hitting that angle. So one of the things that we do to reduce that, we've obviously got testimonials, we've gotten the benefits, all that, but we want to have a guarantee. There's a couple of types of guarantees. I always love the money back guarantee personally. I mean, I just think you should be able to money back guarantee almost anything. But if you don't have that, there's ways around it. You can basically guarantee like a service. Like when I started my martial art classes, like I would have like tons of guarantees. I guarantee I'm going to start on time. I guarantee I'm going to end on time. I guarantee you're going to get it right. So you're guaranteeing stuff that's should happen, but like if anybody here has worked with a copywriter, one of the things that copywriters are notorious for is being really late. It's going to be done in 5 weeks, but it's done in 7, right? Fucking hate that. One of the things that's helped me, like my mini USP, is that like if I give you a deadline, maybe it's 10 weeks, but I will hit the fucking deadline in 10 weeks, right? So having a guarantee doesn't always have to be money back. It can be, and it works well, but it's also great when you've got something that you're guaranteeing service. And generally, I like more guarantees. So you can have, hey, we're going to give you a 30-day money-back guarantee. On top of that, we also guarantee this. We're going to guarantee that, whatever it might be. Does that kind of make sense between the two types of guarantees? Just by a show of hands so I understand. Good. Okay, cool.
Can I make another real quick?
Absolutely.
You should be offering a guarantee no matter what anyway, because the credit cards force you into a guarantee.
Exactly.
You can't do anything about that.
Yeah.
And here's the deal. The longer the guarantee, the
I was-
longer they have to forget about it.
I was just going to mention that.
Sorry.
No, that's perfect.
And the best guarantee of all, if you have something that cannot fail, you offer a double your money back guarantee, because your customers your competition is too afraid to do it.
Yeah.
And when you do it, it's qualified. So
Conditional, right?
You have a 30-day, no questions asked money back
Right.
guarantee. But if you try and prove that you did it, the Entrepreneur magazine, when they first started out, they sold a series of kits, like how to start an ice cream cart, how to start these small businesses, like a dog grooming business. And they were having issues, and they said, we'll give you a double your money back guarantee, and we'll give you your money back at any time when you ask for 30 days. But if you want double your money back, the only thing you have to send me is a
Business card?
Business card.
Yeah.
And it skyrocketed from there.
It's huge. Ryan does that. Ryan Stewman's trying to do that now.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's implemented the double your money back yet, but we were saying to do that anyway, because you can literally, it's a year-long program. So if at the end of the year you don't follow the steps that he's clearly laid, like the fucking roadmap to riches, so to speak, then why would you get a double? I mean, so it's kind of qualified.
The effort has to not be worth the money that
Right.
they would be making. So
Right.
for example, one time my father did a diet program, and he said, it's for a book. And he says, to get double your money back, just go get a note from your doctor. He says it costs more. Getting a note from your doctor costs more than the book, or
Yeah.
you're going to make from it. So if the number of steps you're talking about is not worth that amount of money of their time, they're not going to implement that.
Yeah.
But the thing is, most people who are ordering from double your money back guarantee, they're ordering because they want your product to work. And
Yeah.
it really does work. Now you can't do this. Like, I wouldn't do it on a lot of internet marketing offers where people are just ordering and returning
Yeah.
and they can throw it on their site.
Right, right, right.
You know.
Yeah.
So I would go ahead and you know, you want to make sure it works without question.
Yeah.
And the hurdle to getting it is just enough where nobody's going to just be an opportunist. But if you can do that, it depends on your product.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of like when you were talking about writing copy. How many of you actually pitch on the phone or in person and talk? Okay, you record those pitches, and you keep recording until you forget that you're recording them. You just do it by habit. And then what happens is when you finish one, you go, I crushed it. That was good.
That was a concert pitch.
You take it and go get it transcribed, have it edited, you've got some really good copy, whether you're a good copywriter or not.
That's true. That's true. So well, I mean, just kind of going on what you were saying with the longer guarantee, with stuff that's high ticket, that's a great, like the year-long guarantee works so well with like $20,000, $25,000 products. And one of the things that works well, if you've got a salesperson or a person who can call them on the phone, is after they've purchased, you can do this on almost anything, like trials that you want them to rebill on. You just have someone call them up and say, hey, I just wanted to call you up and say you made a really great decision for ordering. You don't even have to upsell them at this point. Like, we're not even trying to upsell them. You literally just give them a free 5-minute call saying you made the best decision ever. Is there any reason, is there any reason, why did you take advantage of this, or why did you get started? You like to kind of do a little interrogation with them and then lay out their goals or what they want to do. But what that does is it gives them a point of contact, and you're not just some internet marketing company. Again, it's like the more personal, the more real you can get, the better. I mean, I've got a UPS address, so I can tell people in my martial arts school that I'm located right next to the Publix in Miami, Florida. My UPS address is, right? So that makes it real. I'm no longer just some internet marketing dude. I've got a fucking suite number, whatever it is, in Miami, Florida, even if it is the size of a mailbox, right? So doing these things, making it more personal, helps a ton.
I have a client that I recently taught to his sales team. I said, you know what? Take your double your money back guarantee, take the certificate, and text it to them on their phone while you're on the call. And say, I just want you to have this so that you know that you've got proof.
That's sick.
As backup to prove that this offer was made to you, so I'm sending it to you right now. And it's even if it's a digital certificate, it was a game changer for them.
That's huge.
Hey, Carlos?
Yeah.
I want to put words around this because it's got a lot of value it has for me. There's this mental arbitrage, right? When they're in the letter and they're near the close, you've boosted them.
Right.
They're closer to their results, so you've, let's call it, artificially boosted their confidence level, right? Now, when they actually return something, they're in a pit. They have to go into a pit to want the return, right? So one thing that I've found is, especially with double your money back, like the business card, that's the magic bullet. Because you can count on people to not fucking do anything ever.
Right.
It's a good strategy, right? And if you promise them the moon and you deliver, good information products, but just make them, launch an LLC or complete a 7-field form. You'll block anybody.
Yeah.
And those who take action actually end up.
And they're the good ones. You want the. You know what? I was going to say before, so it kind of adds in, is I've had a lot of luck with something not a lot of people do. Refund bonuses.
Interesting. What's that?
When people call me for a refund, naturally, I've processed enough money to know that it's fucking hopeless against the credit cards anyway.
Right, right.
So they're getting the refund, right? But they're gone. They're gone anyway, right? So I'll say thank you so much, because here's a secret: action takers in digital products are fucking unicorns.
Yeah.
They're unicorns, right? And a
5%.
refunder is, by definition, an action taker.
It's 5% or less.
Yeah.
If they're pissed off enough to call,
They're the only ones who refund.
I give them bonuses.
Now, you know when the majority,
they go on Facebook and say nice things after the refund.
the majority of people who refund, you know when they made that decision?
Before they bought.
Before they bought.
Yeah.
Those are just stiffs.
It's,
Yeah.
No, but it's the action.
Let's let the finish. Sorry, let's let the speaker finish.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. We're going to our own mastermind, guys. It's like the mastermind of the mastermind. Inception, baby. Inception. All right, guys, so we'll just continue on. We gave the guarantee. That was step 8. Step number 9 is we want to give them a reason for acting now, right? So maybe that's because there's only a limited quantity. Maybe because there's you got to take action by a certain amount of time. That's what works really well for me on my martial arts stuff. Got to take action before this 15-day thing expires, and it's just going down. So giving them a reason to act is huge, because even if you tell them act now, If there's no reason to do it right this second, they'll put it off to the side. They'll make a better decision later after they think about it or whatever it is. So you've got to take that off the table for them. Element number 10 is the call to action. Now you want to be really specific. This is like click the button below and you're going to be taken to this billing or to this order page where you're going to fill in your billing details. One of the things that I like to do is really pre-frame people as to what they're going to expect on that order page, because for some reason, I mean, I don't know why, but for some reason people will click the button, go to the order page and then just disappear, right? You can remarket them, do all that cool shit, but one of the ways that we can kind of make up for that is we pre-frame them with exactly what's going to happen. So if in a video sales letter, you could literally just, or in a normal sales letter, you can just have a picture of what the order page is going to look like and say, hey, this is what you're going to, this is where you're going to fill out your billing details. You're going to click the submit button, then you're going to get instant access to whatever the product is, right? So you want to be very clear on what it is that they're going to get. Element number 11, we want to predict, and we talked about this earlier, predict the future if no action is taken. So if they don't take action right now, right, this is kind of coming down to the, when I was talking about you have two choices, right? You can go on your path, take everything you learned here and do the same thing you've done for the last 5 years, see no results or whatever it might be, or you could do, you know, what everybody likes to do, which is step number 2. So you want to make sure that you're painting the picture though. It's, if you don't do this now, like what's going to happen? Like what's the, you've got to describe, you've got to paint it for them. Again, stories sell, so you can actually, I mean, if you have the personal story, if you can have a story from a testimonial or whatever, you can talk about how, one of the things that works actually well is a transformational story. Like this person didn't buy the first time, like if you don't take action now, you might experience the same thing Bob did when he didn't take action the first time. And I'll let Bob say it in his own words. And you just have the testimonial style thing where it says, you know, I didn't buy the first time. It took me like 6 months to take action. In that 6 months, I went into more debt, lost my wife, lost my house, lost my dog, lost everything. And then I said, fuck it, something's got to change. I got to make a decision. And it was that little push that made me finally take action. I jumped, I pulled the trigger and whatever. Now amazing shit's happening. So that paints the picture of where they could be, and it's like you don't need to do what Bob just experienced, right? Like just leapfrog to the top and cut that bullshit out, right? Does that make sense? Nice. Okay, element number 12 is your final reminder. This is essentially like almost like the final, like your final chance. There's one more step after this where it really is your final chance, but this final reminder is basically like, here's all the stuff you're going to be getting. Here's the guarantee. You're totally covered by it. Here's why you got to act now. It's like, here's kind of like the cliff notes of whatever it is, like why you got to take action, right? And then the final step is the FAQ section, which was really a game changer for me. Again, I didn't make this up. I saw a lot of personal development and self-development people doing this like on ClickBank and shit. And are you guys familiar with ClickBank? Yeah, that's a great place to like check out like converting offers. I usually just check out stuff that has a high gravity, because that means usually people are promoting it and you just kind of funnel hack them or check out, oh, this person's using a cool hook or whatever, right? So great way to study copy. But what I got from the self-development people in that industry was that they would do at the end an FAQ thing like, hey, and it was like, again, it's kind of like a cliff notes of what the whole letter was. Like, is this product going to be mailed to me or is it digital? Well, hey, it's going to be digital. You're going to get instant access and click here to order. And one of the things I started noticing isn't just adding an FAQ, like the top 10 or top 20. It's at the end of every FAQ, like at the end of every answer, some form of push. So some form of call to action, right? Is this mailed to me? No, it's not. You get instant access, so make sure you click here to order immediately. How soon until I see results? Most folks see results within the first 2 days or 3 weeks or whatever it is, and they all start by clicking this link to get started immediately or whatever it is, right? So you're always pushing them, and that really, it's like your final objection obliterator, your final fucking stand. This is it. So when he talked about, have you ever done sales calls or called your customers? It's great. That's how I got, like, that's how I know why my martial art people want to be respected by their wives, because I called them and I talked to them and I pitched them a $69 product. It wasn't even a $1,000 product, but you get really great info. So that helps a lot. And so that's the end for the 13 steps. I'm just going to do we're about to wrap up because I know we have a few other people. I just wanted to run by the 13 very quickly. Step 1 is steal attention. So make sure you guys have it. Step 2 is what's the problem. Step 3 is you answer the problem. Step 4, why should they listen to you? Step 5, what are the benefits? Bullet points. Step 6, testimonials, skepticism, results-based. What's the deal is number 7. Element number 8 is give a guarantee. Element number 9, reason for acting now. Element 10, call to action. Element number 11, predict the future if no action is taken. 12 is the final reminder, and 13 is the FAQ section. So if you guys like this, you want to get the slides or anything, my name's Carlos Redlich. Just send me a message on Facebook and I'll shoot you guys this for free. So appreciate you guys listening. Thank you, man.
Very good job.